Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking to watch this video. So today's video is going to be a one brand tutorial, and the brand that's going to be featured in today's video is e.l.f. So e.l.f. is a drugstore brand that is quite affordable. It's more on the lower end of the drugstore, and they have some really good quality stuff. And throughout time, I always just try out whatever new stuff they have. You just can't beat the quality that you get with e.l.f. products. So e.l.f. is very affordable, and when I just started out with makeup, it was one of the brands that I could afford to buy makeup from. So I have been using e.l.f. for years now, and I really like them, and I decided to just go ahead and pull out the different products that I have in my collection for e.l.f. And to my surprise, I have enough stuff to complete a full face of makeup. So I have like a few brushes from e.l.f. as well. I've never just used just e.l.f. products on my face, so I'm very interested to see how this look is going to turn out. Some of these products I use consistently, and then others of these products I use just as needed. I have been wearing this makeup for hours, since like I have this makeup on since like 11 o'clock today, and it's like almost midnight at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and get my face cleaned, and we're gonna go ahead and get started with this full face of e.l.f. makeup. All right, my face is clean, so let's get started. All right, so I'm going to be starting off with this lip scrub. This is their brown sugar lip scrub, and I love the packaging of this. I love how simple and easy it is to go ahead and exfoliate my lips right before makeup application. So I'm just using this to do that, and then they have the coconut flavored one as well. I'm just going to take a makeup wipe and wipe it away once I'm done. Next, I'm going in with this e.l.f. Duo Stick. It has a plumping end and a primer on it. I'm not going to use the lip primer. I'm just going to go in with the plumping end as my moisturizer or lip balm. And I'm just going to use it to help to fill out my fine lines and moisturize my lips throughout the wear of my makeup. Now I'm going to go in with this e.l.f. Oil Control Lotion. Just to kind of help to keep my oils at bay throughout my makeup application and makeup wear. So for the brows, I have these two pencils. I like both of them, but today I'm going to be using the micro brow pencil. It's a little bit more precise to outline my brows. The shade that I have, however, is a little bit too warm for my brow hairs, but nonetheless, it still got the job done. I just needed to outline my brows to go ahead and fill them in later with my brow cream. So now I'm going to go in with my brow cream, and this is like my favorite brow cream of all time. This is the e.l.f. Brow Lock On Liner and Brow Cream. I never use it as an eyeliner. I always use it as an eyebrow gel, and I absolutely love the way it works and applies. I just love how it sets on the brows. Absolutely my favorite. I do definitely recommend this, and it's very affordable. So I'm going to be taking the Complete Coverage Concealer in the shade Dark, and I'm just going to be using this to clean up my brows, taking that lighter concealing shade in the palette, and on a flat brush I'm just going to clean up my brows. If you guys have not seen my detailed brow tutorial, I will leave a link to it, or I'll leave it in the cards actually, so you guys can go ahead and check that out. But I'm just following the same steps that I would in that video to get my brows cleaned up. I really like this concealer. I've had this palette in my collection for a while now. I just have not been using it, and yeah, I'm very pleased and surprised with the consistency of it. I guess what happened was I just was not sure of the different products and what I would like when I just started out with makeup. So over time, I know that this is a consistency that I can work with. I actually do not like this concealer to clean up under my eyes. Well, not clean up under my eyes, but to highlight my under eyes or conceal my under eyes. So that's what I had used it for originally. But I feel like now that I know that this is the consistency I like to clean up my brows, I'm definitely going to pull this out and use it more often. So going in with the eyeshadow primer in Sheer, this one is actually one of the first eyeshadow primers that I ever invested in. It's okay. I don't think it's the best with coverage, but it does help the wear throughout the wear of my makeup. It does actually help with that, but I don't think if you're looking for coverage from an eyeshadow primer, I don't think this gives the best coverage at all. So now I'm going to be going in with this powder. This is actually an under eye setting powder. It doesn't work well under my under eye, so I decided to use it for my eye primer to just kind of further set down my eyeshadow primer and make it kind of more smooth and ready for eyeshadow application. So I'm going to be going in with their Opposites Attract eyeshadow palette, and I'm going to be taking that yellow shade called Saucy, and I'm just going to be using it as my first transition shade. I really like the quality of this eyeshadow palette, and you cannot beat the price. I think they're around $10 for one of these palettes. So yeah, I absolutely think that they are worth the price point. Then I'm going to go in. I'd forgotten to put on some eye tape, so I'm just going to be going ahead and putting some on. I always forget this step. But back to the eyes and back to the blending. But the eyeshadows in here, they blend really well. They build really well on each other. I think these eyeshadow palettes are one of the best formulas in the drugstore right now. And like I said, the prices of these you definitely can't beat because they are really affordable. And so if you are a beginner, I definitely recommend checking out these palettes. So I'm going to go in with that green shade called Wise, and I'm just going to put that on my outer V and my crease, and we're just going to be blending away until I get the intensity or the blend that I want. And this eyeshadow right here is like one of my favorites from this palette. It just blends so easily, and the shadows, I cannot stress how much I love this eyeshadow palette just because of the price point too. If something is cheap and it works really well, it is just as better, it's just as nice for me and better for me as if I had bought it from like Sephora and it was a more high-end palette. But this palette really just kind of stands up on its own because it's more of an affordable product that I think absolutely works. So yeah, definitely love these eyeshadow palettes and love how these eyeshadows are blending. Had no problem with fallout. There wasn't like too much fallout. I had a little bit, but that's just because I'm a little bit more aggressive when I dip into my palettes. I definitely want to pick up a lot of shadow right away, so that could be me as well. So I'm going to move back into that yellow shade, and I'm just going to use that like always to just try to soften out the edges of this shadow. I'm going from a lighter shade to a darker shade right away. So I just want to make sure that there's no harsh chop off and they're just blending seamlessly because these two colors are very different. So I want them to blend really well together. Okay, so I'm just going to go back into that concealer palette and I'm going to use that to carve up my lids. As you can see, it is so creamy, you guys. I cannot believe I had this eyeshadow palette just sitting in a drawer for however long it was in there and not using it. I think it is a really nice creamy formula. Like I said before, I just don't recommend it for the under eyes. So I'm going to be going in with this Rose Gold Sunset eyeshadow palette. This is their 10 pan eyeshadow palette. And from this palette, I'm going to be taking that golden shade and I'm going to be using it as my lid shade. I am not as obsessed with this palette. It's a good palette, and some of the eyeshadows in here that I've tried, I haven't used all of them, but most of them that I've tried have worked really well. I'm not obsessed with this one because one, it has a bunch of shimmers in here, and then the mattes that it does have, I don't think that they all show up on my skin tone, so it's not like my favorite palette. But overall, I think it's a good eyeshadow palette. The quality of the eyeshadows overall so far, I find that they are just as nice and works well. But the color scheme is just what's not my favorite from this palette. So now I'm just going to go back in and I'm just going to blend the outer edges of that gold eyeshadow and just kind of fade it into the green so that I have like a nice gradient going in, and there's a nice transition from the gold again into that green shade. No harsh chop off here, no harsh lines. And so I wanted the eyeshadow to be a little bit more intense around my cut crease, so I'm just going to go back in with a tiny pencil brush and just place the color exactly where I want it to intensify it and have it show up just a little bit more. And then going in with a smaller brush, I am with nothing on there, I'm just going to go ahead and blend out the edges of that eyeshadow again, just to make sure that everything is blending seamlessly. Okay, so for eyeliner, I have a few different options. I have this one right here, which is their Intense Ink eyeliner in black. And then I have their liquid liner also in a black shade, and then also their gel eyeliner. I've had their gel eyeliner for a while. That's one of my favorite ones, but for the video I'm just going to be using the liquid one because I just didn't remember how I felt about it, and so I wanted to go ahead and test it out to see if it was something I liked. And I do not like this liner. I wanted to like it, but I didn't like it. I finished using it in the video and I made it work, but compared to the gel and the felt tip, their Intense Ink liner, I think that one worked. Those other ones are better than this one. It just took a while to dry down, so I had to fan it to get it dry, and even at that point it wasn't completely dry, but I had to, you know, keep filming because I was crunching on time here. My daughter was about to wake up from her nap and I needed to hurry up and get done. But yeah, me just checking out my finished product. Oh guys, it's time for mascara, and I am yet to find a mascara from e.l.f. that I can really say I enjoy using. This one was not it at all. This is their Black Diamond mascara. It's their eye enhancing mascara, and that's the only reason why I only have one of their mascara in my collection, and I don't like it. It doesn't do anything for the eyes at all. Yeah, so now we're gonna move into lashes. Okay, these are their multi-dimensional lashes, and I'm gonna go ahead and let the glue dry on them and move into priming. And for primer, I'm gonna be using the Poreless Putty Primer. This is the original formula for this one, and I really like it. I'm not the biggest fan of like the white cast that it leaves on my face once it's rubbed in, so I try not to use too much. I realize that the less of it I use, the less chance of it looking too ashy toned on my skin tone. So yeah, but other than that, I think it's a nice primer and it works. Okay, so let's put on these eyelashes, and I actually really like this style. This was my first time ever using their lashes, and I think they turned out really nice. Or I said it for everything, but they did turn out really nice, and I like the way they looked and framed the eyes. So okay, so for foundation, I have these two. I have one in chocolate and one in cocoa, and both of them are like, no, both of them definitely don't match me. One is way darker than the other. I love the finish of this foundation, but I can never get my correct shade in it. So I have these two shades that I'm trying to mix to make my perfect shade. And so I just never get enough use out of these foundations because it's just too much of a hassle to have to mix two very different tones in foundations just to get my tone. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't have much, like, I don't hate it, the foundation, but I don't love it either. For concealers, I have their 16-hour camo concealers in the shade Deep Olive and Deep Cinnamon. And I picked these up as well as the foundation online when I did purchase them. And I also got some shades that I just didn't think were my best decisions in shades. And so I just never really use these concealers. The formula I like, but I decided that whenever I pick up these concealers, or if I pick up these concealers again, I want to do it in stores where I can pick out my proper shade, because these shades aren't cutting it at all. I did want to go ahead and just finish for the sake of the video, but definitely I could have had some better shades in concealer and foundation to use. So it's starting to look a little bit bright here. So I'm going to take that darker shade in the foundation because I don't have any other cream contour colors I could use, and I'm going to be taking that as my contour for my cream contour today, and taking it on a brush, just blending it and tapping it in around the perimeters of my face and down the jawline. And when I did this, I actually felt like I could see there's like hope for this foundation, because when I blend it out, it blends out really nicely and it does sit really well on the face. So I really wish I had like my proper shade, because I think it would be a whole game changer for how I feel about this foundation. Okay, so now for powder, for setting it on the eyes, I'm going to be taking their HD powder, and I'm going to be using this to set the under eyes. And you guys, this is where everything just starts to go upside down and just take a whole wrong turn. This powder, one, it's very much not my skin tone, and it definitely shows. It's not like translucent. It definitely shows that it's too ashy for my skin tone. And two, it has like sparkles, so you can't really see it on camera, but that even adds to the reason why it looks so much more light and ashy toned on my skin tone. It just was not a good look at all. Like the fact that the concealer was light wasn't good at all, and then the powder on top of it was just like, yeah, I realized at this point that it's bad, sis. But the show must go on, so we're going to move into setting the rest of the face using this finishing powder in the shade Deep. I really like the powder. It works really well on the skin and sets the makeup down really nicely. And I absolutely love the packaging of this powder as well. It gets really dirty, but it just looks so much more luxurious and expensive than it really is. So I love that. I'm going to go back into that eyeshadow palette, and I'm going to take that same green shade that we used earlier, and I'm just going to run that along the lower lash line. And then I'm going to take a small blending brush and just blend out the edges of that shadow again. And then going in with the gel liner, I'm going to go ahead and line my waterline because I couldn't find a pencil eyeliner for this, so this worked just as fine though. And I actually really like this eyeliner. I think it's my favorite eyeliner that they do carry. So now I'm just going to go back in with mascara and try to coat my lower lash line. Okay, so in an attempt to fix my under eyes, I'm going to be taking this finishing powder in the shade Dark, and I'm just going to try to bring back some color under my eyes and help it to not look so bright and ashy. Okay, so for bronzer, I'm going to go in with another one of that powder, but this time in the shade Dark Deep. And I'm just going to use that to bronze the face. So for highlight, I'm going to be using the Heat Defense highlighter in the shade Coffee and Cream, and I'm going to be going in with that darkest shade. And I absolutely love this highlighter. You guys, the formula of this highlighter is so good. I mean, so good. I love the way it sits on the skin. I love how creamy and smooth it applies. It's just really nice, and I just love the intensity of it as well. A little bit goes a long way with this highlighter. Yeah, I love the packaging. So yeah, this is one of my top favorite products from e.l.f. For blush, I have a few options. I have this palette here in dark that I like. I also have this blush in brick red that I like as well. But for today, I'm going to be going in with their primer infused blush in the shade Always Spicy. Yeah, and this one is a very nice blush as well. And for lip liner, I'm going to be going in with this one, and it's in the shade Deep Brown. This is actually a really good lip liner. I can't remember using this lip liner before this, so I think this would be like my first impressions of it, and so far so good. It felt really nice going on. It wasn't too dry. It was just right, creamy, and applied really smoothly. Okay, so for lipstick, I'm going to be using the Liquid Matte Lipstick in the shade Praline. e.l.f. has a really good liquid lipstick formula. I think it wears really well on the lips, and I love the way this color looks on my lips. It's actually my favorite color of all of the ones that e.l.f. does carry. And so for setting spray, I'm just going to be using their matte setting spray to set the makeup down. And yeah, that's it. This is the final look, guys. I am so happy that I ended up completing this video. I was so discouraged when the powder and concealer and foundation wasn't working out, but I think all in all we got a decent look right here, and it looks fine. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.